What's up, football fans? We are back again with another fantasy football recap. This was the last week in the Andy Dalton fan club, so the playoffs start next week, so that has big implications. And it was the second to last week of the Gouldy 12 regular season, but the playoff picture is not really taking shape over there. It's all to play for. So let's get straight into it and look at the results. Starting off, as always, with the Andy Dalton fan club, and we already had the playoff spot locked up, but we are playing for a bye week, and we've only gone and done it. We had James this week, who was also desperately in need of a win to even have a chance at a bye week. No matter what, we both would need another result to go our way, but we had to win our game. Only one of us could get our bye week, and I'm the one who managed to win, and my other result went my way, but more on that later. It was a close game. 131 to 115. There was enough in it where you feel comfortable, but it easily could have gone wrong. Let's have a look at the scores. Baker Mayfield, 19 points. Pretty solid. James Cook, 4.7. I was losing my mind with this game. 42 plays 44. James Cook got in no work whatsoever. It was dreadful. Fortunately, Bijan Robinson was there to pick up the slack with a 23.9 point game, rushing touchdown, 2-point conversion. He did fall just short of 100 rushing yards, which would have been another 2 bonus points in this league, but still, big performance from him was enough to keep us in the right spot. Again, at wide receiver, similar story. T. Higgins in a 27 to 20 game where Joe Burrow throws for 369 yards and 3 passing touchdowns, and T. Higgins gets 23 yards. That's it. I couldn't believe my luck. Only 23 points for him. Dreadful. Fortunately, Justin Jefferson, for the first time on the bench, has finally come good. 31.25 points, 132 yards and 2 receiving touchdowns. I couldn't believe it. Also bonus points in there for going past 100 receiving yards, and one of his touchdowns was a long touchdown. Absolutely phenomenal stuff. Couldn't have been happier. Noah Gray subbing in for a week at tight end, 3.2 points. A little bit low in this league, not too bad. Cooper Kupp, 15.95. Fucking solid game. Really happy with that from him. Stud. Jason Sanders missed the first PAT of the day, had me a little bit worried. Managed to recover with 16 points. Big love to him. Steelers defense, despite conceding 14 points, then look at that. 3 sacks, 2 interceptions, and a fumble. Huge. 14.5 points. And I don't think we left too much on the bench. Could have had an extra 11 points with Tua and an extra 11 points with Jerry. So what, an extra 20 points? Which could have been a difference maker. But that was about the best we could realistically hope for. So we are pretty happy with that. And we're all good to go for next week as well, fortunately. James, on the other hand, 33 points from Joe Burrow. Big stuff. Jones and Pacheco managed to link up for 26, which is a little bit less than what Bijan and Cook did. This was his big problem here. AJ Brown and Amon-Ra St. Brown only combining for 11 points? Not ideal. Hawkinson didn't do too much more than Gray with only 5 points. Smith and Jigba did less than Cooper Kupp. Bates did less than Sanders, and the Chiefs did less than the Steelers. Other than at quarterback, every kind of position group just did a little bit less. So even the 14-point swing he gets on his side at quarterback, he loses double that throughout the rest of the positions. Rough one from him. But he's still in the playoffs, so he will have that to look forward to. Could he have won? No, he couldn't. He could have done better if he would have had Bigsby in for Pacheco. That would have been an extra 7 points, but would not have changed the result. Next up, Fraser versus Tom. This was a dead and buried game that meant nothing, and the scores reflect that. Fraser manages to win the game to get up to 5-9. Tom falls to 3-11. Nothing really too shocking here. These guys haven't paid a lot of attention this season. Kenneth Walker was ruled out relatively late, but Chuba Hubbard did pretty well. Tyreek Hill did pretty well. Other than that, not a lot really went on. Chargers defense did okay. That's about it. Drake London didn't do nothing. Swift didn't do nothing. Pat Mahomes did 17 points. I mean, yeah, there's a whole lot of middling. On the flip side, however, it's even more middling without the Chuba Hubbard and Tyreek Hill, essentially. Kyler Murray does 23, Derrick Henry missing, Christian McCaffrey missing, Cooper and Neighbours do okay, Ferguson does okay, Etienne does okay, Aubrey does pretty well, 49ers defense did pretty well. But yeah, nothing burger game. If I think, yeah, just by like playing his running backs, I don't think that would have made a difference. Addison sat on his bench would have obviously won him the game by a mile. But there we go. That's that. Next up, we have Skip versus Scott. This was the big one for me in terms of can I get a bye week? So, the top of the two divisions we have gets bye week. Scott was top of the division. He had head-to-head to me on. He had head-to-head over me, despite us having the same record, which meant he had the home, the bye week. Sorry, not home playoff. So I needed to beat James, which was no mean feat, and I needed him to lose to Skip, which was no mean feat. Fortunately, both of them results came off with Skip winning by 13 points in 161 plays 148. Huge game. Let's see exactly what happened here, though. Sam Darnold. Can we just take a second here? Me and Skip have done a bit of business this season. Josh Jacobs was my player. Najee Harris was my player. Travis Kelce was my player. All three of them were drafted by me. Sam Darnold I've had on my roster no less than 3 times this season. CJ Stroud was my player. Xavier Worthy was my player. This is my B team. Skip has done a really good job. We've done business that kind of benefited us both. At times he was a bit wide receiver heavy and I was a bit running back heavy, so we managed to balance ourselves up that way. Tracy was an amazing pickup that he beat me to because he had better waiver priority. But yeah, people pulled out. Sam Darnold obviously did a lot of heavy lifting here, but Josh Jacobs 29 points, Najee Harris 15, Shakir 22, Williams 8, Tracy another 19. Solid. Jamar Chase on Monday Night Football really tried to turn this game back around with another 36-point game, which was huge. But other than that, I mean, don't get me wrong, 148 would have beat, I think, basically everyone else. It would have beat everyone other than one person in the league. Sorry, 2 people, Skip and one other person. Very, very high score. Kamara, a little bit low for what he's been doing this season. Evans, maybe a little bit low. Samuel, I mean, a little bit low based on what you'd expect from him, but based on this season, maybe not that low. Did he leave any points on the bench? No, he didn't. He had no decisions to make this week. The only thing he could have done was play Hopkins instead of Debo, which, yeah, would have had him 4 points better off, but it still wouldn't have been enough. He needed Kamara or Evans or Debo to be better than they were. It's a rough one, but he's doing the playoffs as is Skip, so they can't be too upset. Next up, we have Pash versus Ryan. Ryan, who I said was going to be the spoiler all season, still never ended up being the spoiler. Pash, 4-game win streak to tie up the number 1 seed overall, so we're very happy with that. And winning this game meant even if James beat me, James wouldn't have got the home playoff. So, let's see exactly what happened. Caleb Williams, not great. Saquon Barkley, 21 points. Rashad White, 27 points. DK Metcalf, 5 points. Pickens didn't play. Trey McBride, 8 points. Darnell Mooney, 16 points. I mean, it's not a great score, is it? He's been very much carried by his running back room here, who put up 50 of his 113 points. He didn't have a lot else left on the bench. He could have had more points if he'd have had Njoku in for McBride. On the flip side, he might have actually be considered a bit lucky here. Jordan Love, Connor, Achan all did pretty well. Williamson, Puka, and Okur pretty well. If he'd have had Brown in at flex, he wins this game. Hopkins, his defense and his kicker lost him points. If he wouldn't have played a kicker and a defense, Ryan would have won this game. Ryan actually scored more points. Unfortunately, he had 2 players who cost him points, which is just dreadful. That's really rough. Maybe Pash is a bit lucky to still be on a winning streak, but he also has a bye next week, so he has a chance for the players who are questionable to get fit. Obviously, all of his buys will be done, so we'll have ample choice at quarterback and stuff like that. And finally, the last game of the regular season, Dad versus Anka. Anka needed to win and Skip to lose to get into the playoffs. Unfortunately for her, despite her win, Skip won, so she misses out on the playoffs. Last year's champion misses out on the playoffs. I believe Anka has been to the last 2 Anchor Bowls, winning and coming runner-up in the last 2. For a while there, she didn't look that great, and it looked like she was going to get nowhere near the playoffs. She almost made a last dash. But how did this game get so dominant? Josh Allen. Josh Allen scored 65 points last night. No, sorry, Sunday Night Football. 3 passing touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns. First player to ever do that, I believe I read somewhere. 300 plus passing yards, 80 rushing yards. Dude was an animal. 135 points for Dad, he'll be pretty happy with. And he's in the playoffs, so... I mean, 135 points will win most weeks. Could he have had more points? Technically, yes. Irving was injured, so he could have had Irving out for Dowdle for an extra 18 points. Wouldn't have won him the game, though, so not a lot you can do there. But he's made the playoffs. That's all that matters. Make the playoffs, then hope you're winning the playoffs. Anchor will be taking a lot of good players with her. Josh Allen, not going to be in the playoffs. Jameer Gibbs, not in the playoffs. Allen, not in the playoffs. Gorado, who scored 29 points, not going to be in the playoffs. Big players now missing. Very, very interesting indeed. But that is the Andy Dalton fan club. Let's have a look at the league table and the playoff picture as it is. This is how these table finished up. We have 2 divisions, Division A and B. A is Pash, James, Skip, Anchor, and Fraser. The top 3 spots in each league get a playoff spot, and the winner of the division gets a bye in the first week of the playoffs. That is Pash. As you can see, he finished 10-4, James finishing 9-5. However, Pash did have a tiebreaker on James, so even if they'd finished on the same record, Pash was going to be ahead of James. Then in Division B, you have me, Scott, Dad, Tom, and Ryan. Who were getting to the playoffs at this division was looked up a decent while ago. It was all about playing for position here. With them last day results of me winning and Scott losing, I was able to clinch up the bye in week 1 of the playoffs. The playoffs will be as such. Dad will be playing Scott in the first quarterfinal, and James will be playing Skip. The winner of those will go on to play me and Pash before the Tanker Bowl. This is my 3rd appearance in the last 4 years. The last 2 times I made it to the playoffs, I did make it all the way to the Super Bowl, winning 1 and losing 1. I am hoping to improve my record to 2-1 this year, but we will see how that goes. Now let's head over to the Gooley 12 League. So, as I said in the intro, there's still another week of the regular season in the Gooley 12 League, so it's still all up for grabs a little bit. And by a little bit, I mean fucking a lot, but we'll get into that in a minute. First and foremost, I lost. Big bad news. I'm now the 6th seed, so I am in a situation of I need to win and results to go my way next week for me to make the playoffs. A little bit concerning, but anything can happen in a week. 117 points would have beaten 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people this week. Puts me right in the middle of the road. Can't be too upset that I lost. George with 145 points. Fair fucking play to him. Let's see exactly what happened here. Well, the big problem was Monday Night Football. My quarterback managed 24 points. Brilliant. Unfortunately, that came at the behest of Ja'Marr Chase getting 45 points, which poo-pooed the game. If Ja'Marr Chase would have got essentially 17 points or less, I would have won. Assuming all my points had the same, obviously. Really rough here, is what it is. That was the real difference maker. Other than that, I beat him in most positions. Quarterback, I win. Running back room, I lose a little bit. Wide receiver room, obviously got dominated in. Tight end, I won out. Flex, I lost slightly. Kicker, I lost. But defense, I won. Is what it is. I had no other decisions I could make this week. Everyone else was on a bye. I just had to play the team I had in front of me. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough. Hopefully, we can win next week and results can go away and we can try and make a good run in both sets of playoffs. Next up, Mick beat Josh. I believe that officially knocks Josh out of playoff contention. If he'd have won this week and next week, I think he still could have made it. But I believe that does absolutely end his playoff hopes here. Very close game, though. Mick only winning by 2 points. What exactly happened here? I mean, it was pretty close. Who underperformed? Dick the kicker and the Chargers defense weren't ideal here, compared especially to Boswell and Seahawks. What a season Boswell's having, by the way. Chubb was a little bit low, and Irving got hurt. But other than that, I think they just have higher highs. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 players broke 15 points. 1, 2, 3, but they had 2 people right around. I mean, there's only 2 points in it, so of course these numbers are all going to be very close. But just at like a glance, I would have said that Josh had more points here. I don't really know where it's gone wrong here. He's up at quarterback. He's up more at running back. It's kind of the wide receiver room, isn't it? Yeah. What, he loses out 16 points here and 6 there, so that's 26. That's kind of a swing back the other way. And then he gets a bit back at tight end, a bit back at flex. Yeah, I mean, it's wide receiver and then special. That's the difference maker clearly here. Very, very close. Could anyone have done anything about it? The only thing that could have been done would have made the margin of victory for Mick larger. Josh couldn't do anything. I mean, Josh had a rough season with Tua getting injured a lot. It fucked up Achane, and he had Tyreek Hill for a while, and that fucked him up. So he's just had a rough season. He'll be back next year, I'm sure. A huge win for other Josh and a loss for Luke. Puts Luke on a 3-game loss streak now, and I'm playing him next week, so hopefully he can continue that. 79 points, plays 160. What the fuck happened here? Jared Goff, 20 points. Connor, 20 points. Missing Stevenson. 10 points for Amon-Ra, missing Tillman. 8 points for Bowers. 8 points for Metcalf. 8 points for me. So he's missing 3 players. And he still managed to get to 80 points. That's actually impressive. And then on the flip side, what went right? Fucking everything. Only 2 players didn't break 10 points. And only 3 players didn't break 20 points. And the only discrepancy there is the kicker. Everyone's just had a really, really good week for him. Jalen Hurts, 24. Kyren Williams, 23. Cooper Kupp, 20. Shakir, 21. Kittle, 21. Tyreek Hill, 28. Even the Kansas City kicker managed 15. My God, everyone just balled out. No extra points on the bench really to be had that wouldn't have changed anything. Wow, wow, wee wow. That is a big old margin of victory. Almost over double his points. That is interesting. But 161 points is not the biggest score this week, as Cam has gone out and scored an earth-shattering 176. And you've got to feel bad for Wag here. Wag has lost 11 games in a row now. He scored 128 points this week. That would have beaten 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the 12 people in this league. There was more chance of him playing someone this score would beat than not, and he still lost. It's a rough one. Let's see what happened. Wag, 128 points, pretty decent all round. Pitts has let him down a little bit, but other than that, not horrific. On the other side, what's gone right for Cam? Puka Nacua, Justin Jefferson, 73 points right there is a really good start. Running back room adds another 40. Baker Mayfield with 19. Ingram with 7. Drake London with 12. Just everyone did their job. Everyone did their job. And then both wide receivers have gone absolutely sicko mode. Got to love it. Got to love it. Huge for him. I'll be curious to see. Cam is in a playoff spot right now. If his team can keep this up, he might sneak his way all the way to the finals here. Very dangerous team that are all trending in the right direction, in my opinion. Oscar continues his late playoff surge after a rocky start to the season. This Oscar and Tony game was very much a case of both teams really want a win here to give themselves a much better chance. Tony, if the loss falls to 7th seed. Oscar, if the win is up to the 5th seed. So I need him to lose next week. Ideally. Let's see what happened. 157 points, a good score. Josh Allen, 51 points. Boom. CeeDee Lamb, 21 points. I mean, I can't imagine anyone who has Josh Allen this week lost. I mean, there will be someone. I can't imagine there's very many people who have Josh Allen who lost this week in fantasy football. Running backs did well. Wide receivers did okay, but only because CeeDee had such a good week. Tight end wins. Really solid flex. Kicker did okay. Defense did great. Yeah, great. Bills defense was costing him points. Jordan Love didn't do great. Dowdle and Algier did comparable. Wide receivers got a bit of space back, but tight end and flex couldn't compete. And then the big swing is the 14 points solely at defense. If you zero both them out, that's 115, that's 147. All of a sudden, them scores are a lot closer. Could we have done better? 12 points at wide receiver. Could have had an extra 8 here. Devonta Smith, 13. Would have been an upgrade over AJ Brown. So they both could have done better, but it wouldn't have changed the result either way. And finally, Ian with a big win over just to give Ian still technically, I believe, a bit of life in the playoff hunt here, although it's not looking great. 137 to 114, it's a good score. What went right? We went out and got Guerrero after McCaffrey and I forgot our backup's name. Mason got put on IR. So his running back room did a lot of work. Wide receivers did okay. Flex did pretty good. Yeah. I mean, everyone's just turned up and done their job. Fortunately, Caleb Williams and Pat Mahomes did similar to each other, and he managed to win out everywhere else. James Cook having that particularly quiet week really hurt. In fact, the only reason this was close was because of Zach Charbonnet's phenomenal 38-point game against Arizona. If he would have got kind of 15 points like other running backs, this game wouldn't have even been within 20 points. So you could argue that Josh was lucky to even have it this close. Don't think anyone really could have done better. We could have had 3 more points for Ian. If he'd played the 49ers defense, we could have had no more points for Joss. So, just the way the cookie crumbles. Let's go have a look at the league table to see what the situation is coming up to the end of the season. And here we have the standings. So, right now we've got 2 teams who are 9 and 5. I believe... Oh, no. Other than head-to-heads, head-to-heads probably keeps them in, but I don't think anyone is safe yet. I believe you have to have, or head-to-heads are going to play a part here, but I think you already have to have 8 wins to even have a chance, because there are 6 teams with better than 8 wins, and of course people will be playing each other. I need to win, and I need 2 of, I can't remember who that is, I need Cam, Oscar, and other Josh? Yeah, other Josh. To lose. If 2 of them lose and I win, I can make the playoffs. Still, I don't know what the tiebreakers are looking like, but if all 3 of these lose and I win, I will have a better record straight up. If 2 of them lose and I win, my main goal is win and then hope that something breaks my way. Clearly, I have the worst tiebreakers because I'm currently below all of them. So that means that if 2 of them win, I'm not even going to get in on tiebreakers. So that's huge. Cam is playing Mick. Yeah, it's going to get a bit messy here. I mean, I guess technically if all 4 of us lose and Tony wins, he might have the ability to jump up. Best I can work out here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people, I believe are competing for 2 spots. I believe both Mick and George are guaranteed a spot. I don't think it's possible for them to fall out. Because if they've won 9 games, I doubt they have tiebreakers bad enough to knock them out if they were to both lose and we were all to win. It'll be an interesting one. This has gone right down to the wire. But as far as I can tell, there are only 3 teams who are completely out of contention. This has been your Fantasy Football Week 14 recap. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.